Welcome to the Happy Rebel podcast, where we explore the realms of finding your calling, living your values, and doing the work of self-healing. Through candid conversations with fellow seekers, we'll uncover ideas and concepts that challenge, expand, and empower us to embrace our authentic selves and live with intention. Hi there, I'm Kelly Street, owner of Happy Rebel and your guide on this journey. I'm known for my insatiable curiosity and tendency for pushing boundaries. I've always been a challenger, eager to question the status quo and explore the uncharted territories of personal growth. So join me as we navigate the twists and turns of life's journey, seeking out the wisdom and insights that illuminate our path towards fulfillment and rebellion against the ordinary. Before we get started, I want to remind you to connect with me on Instagram at Happy Rebel, where you can ask questions and share your thoughts. Remember, you are never alone on your path to becoming a happy rebel. This is the Happy Rebel Podcast. As we enter the space of the Happy Rebel podcast, I invite you to gently focus your eyes, or if possible, allow your eyes to be fully closed. Take a deep, cleansing breath and exhale to ground into your body. Inhale deeply, visualizing a golden light in your heart center. With each exhale, imagine that light growing stronger and brighter. Continue breathing as you prepare to honor the complexities of life, embracing the balance between the light and the dark of your own experiences and the conversation to come. With gratitude for this moment of grounding and connection, slowly open your eyes or return to the space as we begin this podcast adventure together. All right. Hello. So podcast is back. It has officially almost exactly been 2 months since I have recorded an episode of the Happy Rebel podcast. And wow, so the title of the episode is, of course, the break I didn't want to take, but needed to. And I just want to start off by saying, I didn't mean to take a 2-month break. I meant to take a couple of weeks off and then get right back into it and start solo episodes and interviews, and just couldn't. So I'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the episode, but I just wanted to acknowledge that this break truly was unintended, and 2 months was way longer than I thought I was going to need to take off. So the intention of this episode is I want to talk about why, for me in particular, but I think for a lot of people, taking breaks is really difficult. Struggling with my internal dialogue, anxiety, all of that stuff around taking breaks and resting. It's a challenge for me. And then I also want to talk about how, for me, thinking of productivity and the idea of not resting, not taking breaks, how closely tied that is to my self-worth. And I'm realizing that being a productive person is just something that helps me feel valued, and how I want to learn to distance myself from that. So there we go. All right. So in this first section, I'm going to talk about why I ended up taking this unintentional 2-month break. So there were a lot of practical reasons for this. It was summer vacation. I have mentioned on here, I think before, I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter who we're a non-traditional step relationship, and we're just like any other regular family in the way we look and how we operate. And so over the summer, I like to work less. I want to be more present and be around. And as long as she'll have us around and she'll let us do family vacations and go to our family cabin, I'm going to take advantage of that. So my clients know in my therapy and coaching business that I work less in the summer, and that I try to schedule around all of those family desired commitments. And yet because I was taking a lot of vacations over the summer, I decided to kind of pack the other weeks when I wasn't taking vacations. And so I went from working a lovely 3 days a week in my therapy and coaching business, and then a couple of days a week in Happy Rebel, to working 5 days a week in my therapy practice and having 0 days available for Happy Rebel. And I just wasn't saying no enough. I was committing to classes, to clients, to, trips, and just wasn't saying no. And so I found it became really difficult to balance my personal and my professional life. And along with this, I guess I should just add that over the summer in July and August, we were going through another section of our IVF and fertility journey. And that takes a lot of time and emotional energy. And it just frankly didn't leave me a lot of anything left over to think about coming out here and talking to people. And when you're so focused on what's happening with my body, where are things going? Is this working? Is this not? Emotional stress. You just don't have a lot left to go and give. And in the middle of that, I didn't really feel like talking about it and didn't really want to share the ups and downs that were going on a daily basis. So that was part of needing to take a break too. And the overarching theme of this break is that I definitely was in the throes of burnout. And honestly, I still am. I'm still at the tail end of it and working through it. So I knew it was that the signs of burnout were showing up. I knew it was time to take a step back, as hard as it was, because I was always exhausted. I felt incredibly guilty for only operating at 80% for my family, for my clients, for my friends. For my friends, honestly, I felt like I was operating at 60%. And I just felt terrible that I was not being my full present self in any aspect of my life. I noticed that I was showing up late, which is not something I typically do. I was missing emails. I was not responding to texts from my family or from my friends because I just didn't have the energy. And speaking of time or energy, I wasn't spending time with friends because I just didn't have enough hours in my day and I had committed to other things. And so then there was nothing left over. So there you go. That's why I needed to take a break. It was a lot of different reasons, a lot of different things, but I really admire in other people when they're going through a hard time and they can still show up, or that they use their podcast or their social media as a way to process that with other people, like it's catharsis. And my whole life, I know since I was a teenager, the thing I have done when I am stressed, when I am overwhelmed, is I burrow and there's some of that isn't healthy, and then there's some of that for me is a coping mechanism and a tool that I use to build myself back up. So I think it's just for me about figuring out which moment is which. So the next thing I want to talk about is my internal constant fear of missing out and my inner critic. So this comes up in the emotional struggle that I was feeling, where I was failing everything and everyone by stepping away from Happy Rebel for the last couple of months, but also by dropping the balls of friendship and personal life in the midst of all of this happening. So I think culturally, we have talked a lot about FOMO and fear of missing out. And this shows up for me a lot. It's why I overcommit myself sometimes. It's why I say yes to like every class or every opportunity to hang out with people that generally that comes across my path. But really for me, the FOMO is right now at this phase in my life, the FOMO is hanging out with my family. It is my clients, and is like personal development, like course or a class or that sort of thing, any training opportunity. I just in the last year have jumped on everything. And that led me to this burnout. But I was afraid of missing out on growth. I was afraid of missing out on progress. I was afraid of missing out on connection. And all of that just led my inner critic to tell me that I needed to say yes to everything and to do all of these different things, even though inside I was craving space. I was craving time. I was craving rest. And so while my internal dialogue is telling me all the ways that I'm going to miss out on things, this other internal dialogue was going on, telling me about all of the ways that I'm failing people, that I should feel guilty, that I should feel like I'm not enough. And it's like, okay, I guess I can't win. I guess I literally cannot do anything because I'm not allowed to rest. And then I'm not allowed to do because I'm only doing it 80%. So I just want to pose this question to you all. When have you in your life taken a step back only to end up feeling like you were letting yourself or you were letting others down? As I know I'm not alone in this. And I know there are others out there. So please, please reach out to me if you have had those moments where you were like, all right, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to say no to this thing. And then just this tremendous amount of guilt washes over you. And WTF, am I really not allowed to take a break? So that leads me to the third thing I wanted to talk about, which is my personal complicated relationship with rest. So, from my entire life, from as long back as I can remember, my family has valued hard work and has valued being a producer. When I think about in my nerdy psychology brain, when I think about ancestral histories and how that impacts us, I come from, on both sides of my family, have farmers. And of course, both sides of my family, like pretty much everybody else, have immigrants. And farmer immigrant families, there really was this thing of all hands on deck. You do whatever it takes. You need to grow all of your own food, build your own home, do all of these things just for survival. And so I'm like, okay, I can see how that has come down my genetic pipeline. And also, I grew up in a family business. And so working was just synonymous with life. And from the time my parents started their store when I was 4.5 years old, it was like, okay, what can we pay Kelly to do and to have her help out with a business? So she sees herself as part of this business and is working for everything you have. That's a huge, huge part of my story, my lineage, is nothing comes for free. And so growing up, I had this belief that me being productive, me working, was my own personal value and worth, not just the dollars that I made, but it was equivalent to me. So this really showed up for me. I'm coming off of 2 weeks of being sick, you know, age old, lovely, now COVID. And then that turned into maybe bronchitis or pneumonia. And it's so great. And so as I'm sitting there on the couch, feeling terrible, watching TV, and having just a day of rest, I felt in my body this sense of, you are lazy and unproductive. You've got to get up. You've got to start doing things. And so I turned to my husband and I was like, I can't sit here and rest for another day. I need to be able to get up. I need to do things. I want to work out. I want to do this. I want to do that. And he looked at me like I was insane, which was kind of a crazy moment. Because I felt terrible. I was wrecked. And he was like, you need to rest. And how uncomfortable that was from my entire body, my mind, my body were just like, no, I've been resting for 2 days. I need to be done with this. And it's just crazy how much guilt I have when I rest, when I relax. And so I just want to normalize for myself, to begin to normalize this idea that I am allowed to rest. I'm allowed to take breaks. I am allowed to heal. And that healing sometimes looks like a day of watching TV straight. Sometimes healing looks like walks in the woods, and that none of it has to look like a lot of effort. So, just really trying to balance my personal needs with all of my ambitions, all of my desires, and learn to see how those fit more together. So, in this next little section of my life, the fourth thing I want to kind of dive into is redefining rest and productivity. So, this 2 months, taught me a lot about myself, about my needs, about what was going on, and really the necessity for me of rest for my creativity, for my well-being, and so that I can show up more fully. Because the thing that I have realized about myself is that I am not someone who can work 40 plus hours a week anymore. I've done that. I've had that phase of my life. I definitely on some days wish that I could be someone who could just, run out to my office here after, dinner and quick record a half an hour episode. But my stamina just isn't as high as it used to be. And that's okay. So, some strategies that I'm trying to practice as I learn how to redefine rest and productivity, I'm learning how to set boundaries with my time and with my energy. I'm learning how to say no. So, I'm on a nonprofit board, and it's the end of my term is coming at the end of this year. And I've gotten a lot of pressure to recommit to another 3 years. And I just said no. I need to let that get off of my plate. And I need, even if it's just 3 or 4 hours a month that it takes up for me, I need that time back for myself, for my body, for hopefully our future pregnancy and fertility processes, and just for my creativity alone. I just need those extra 4 hours. It seems silly. And then I have to tell myself that it's not. It is not silly. Those are 4 hours, and 4 hours plus mental energy around it. So, learning to say no and learning to schedule rest when I tell myself that I really should be working. And I've done that actively by blocking off pretty much every non-working, non-scheduled minute on my calendar. I block it off so people can't schedule things with me, so that I don't seem available, because I want to be the one who is more in charge of my schedule rather than other people or any other things dictating my time. And I'm also learning to really just challenge that inner critic and that FOMO mindset that I need to be doing something or that I'm missing out on something. I said the other day that I just like had this kind of negative thought loop going, and I went, "Oh, my brain is being kind of mean. Maybe I don't have to listen to my brain if it's being mean to me." Because if it's being mean to me and telling me all the things that I should or that I have to, or the ways that I'm not enough, that's not me being in my fullest self, in my higher self, in my capital S self, in the IFS therapy language. It's not me being fully embodied if I'm telling myself all the ways that I'm not. And so I am just going to tell my brain that it is mean and that I'm not going to listen to it when it says things like that. So there you go. All right. In conclusion, taking breaks is hard, but it is essential for our growth to accept, acknowledge, schedule, take breaks. I really invite you to reflect on your own relationship with rest and just think about, is there one way where you could invite more space into your schedule, where you could invite or embrace rest in your life? I really invite you to, the next time you're sitting on a couch or taking a break, taking a rest, notice if it feels uncomfortable. And if it does, just breathe a little space into that discomfort and see if you can have that anxiety or frustration at yourself, if you could just get it away from you a little bit. Just see. And I just want to say that even though my journey to rest and balance is always ongoing, and yours probably is too, it is a path worth walking to figure out how we can create more space and rest in our lives. We're a really busy society, and frankly, we're more productive when we take breaks and take rest. So do it. All right, what comes next? I just want to have a little note on that. What comes next is that I may only do every other week episodes for the next little while through the end of the year. I know my schedule's still a little bit more full through the end of 2024, and it might only be every other week. I'm going to try to find more spaciousness to be able to do this weekly because I have loved doing the podcast and I love showing up again and again and talking with people, talking through the ideas that I'm circulating on. But every other week feels like a more doable cadence for me right now. And so I hope that you all can understand and appreciate that and think about what you might need to take down to every other week instead of weekly. I really want to thank you for your patience and for continuing this journey with me. And the last thing I want to say is actually, through all of this busyness, I have been working on some new products and some new things and have some exciting things that I will be sharing in the weeks to come. And one of them, if you are watching the YouTube video, you'll get to see it. If you're not, maybe hop over to my YouTube and check it out. And I'll also show a picture on Instagram. But for those of you who are watching this, I want to show you the shirt that I am wearing. So I made some samples of some shirts and I am learning how to screen print. I'm so super excited. And this shirt is Embrace the Dark and the Light. It's our Happy Rebel kind of motto. And it's super cute. I had a designer help me create it and it came together beautifully. But I have some new things that are happening, and this new spaciousness in my life is opening up and letting me come back to the creativity in myself and to start making and doing with my own hands and my own body. And I'm super excited to share that all with you. So thanks so much. And I just adore each and every one of you listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've heard from a few of you over the last couple of months when I took this time off, asking me gently when the podcast is coming back. And thank you for those nudges. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the Happy Rebel podcast community. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Happy Rebel. If you've enjoyed our episodes, please consider rating, liking, and reviewing the podcast. It truly does help us grow. Until next time, this is Kelly Street. Remember, embrace the dark and the light.